Universitas Indonesia is committed to provide wide and fair access of high-quality teaching and learning. Being part of global educational institution, Universitas Indonesia invites students from all over the world. A value of learning how to convey and to accept knowledge with global society despite different language and cultural background. In the process to be an open knowledge community, Universitas Indonesia is committed to provide learning opportunities to talented students from all over the world through its extensive scholarship program for more than 500 students each year. Excellences of the university's researchers has been proven by research products which benefits development of science, public welfare, technological, industrial achievement, and engineering, as well as government policies in social, economical, political, and cultural sectors. At Universitas Indonesia, each student has the opportunity to share knowledge and making something that will impact society and how they get used to with global competitive environment. To become virtuous and globally competitive graduates and prominent leaders in many respective fields. Academic, extracurricular, and other resources are designed to prepare them for the highest positions of leadership and lives in many fields of service of global human endeavor. Also, how they learn to implementing knowledge as part of community service. A simple solutions for most common social problem in developing country. Many graduates of Universitas Indonesia play a central role in both national and global development, a strong tradition in making contribution to society. Interaction with global influential leaders is part of learning process of all University of Indonesia's academic society. How they perceive a global challenge through the respective leaders. It's our commitment to constantly developing a learning community that always moves forward with open arms to embrace all talented young people. Universitas Indonesia, the next level of excellence.
Hi everyone! I hope that everyone's doing very well and is having a pleasantly good day. Good morning to all of our friends who are watching from Sweden, and good afternoon to our friends who are watching from Indonesia. Before we start, maybe I can introduce myself first. My name is Nadine, and I am currently enrolled in Universitas Indonesia as an undergraduate student in the Faculty of Psychology. Just like with our first symposium, I'm very happy to accompany you all today as an MC. Today we'll be doing things a little bit differently. If you have noticed, every member of the symposium committee is going to be proceeding with the event in their own personal homes because the faculty is currently closed due to the current COVID-19 conditions. So we're really hoping for your understanding and cooperation if technical difficulties were to occur. But hopefully everything will go as smoothly as planned, so let's just keep things positive. Well, everyone, welcome to today's symposium event, Psychology from the East, Psychology from the West. This event is a form of discussion forum that is expected to be held periodically to address research and conduct interesting, dynamic dialogues on psychological issues commonly found in various societies. As you all may know, on the second
itu adalah dasarnya.
Okay, perhaps I just would like to remind everyone that you should keep your mic muted to ensure the success of the event. So to continue off, as you all may know, on the second symposium event, we'll be covering the topic of education and the internet, challenges faced by the higher education in renewing curriculum and managing students, experiences of Indonesia and Sweden. Fortunately, we are very lucky to have the honor of having three speakers accompany us today. First one is Dr. Lucia R.M. Royanto, also known as Mbak Lucy, Dr. Chutrifa Muttiya, also known as Muttiya, and Dr. Daniel Alfinger. And today's discussion will all be moderated by Wuri Prasetyawati, PhD, also known as Mbak Wuri. Now, I will be happily giving the floor to Sali Rahadi Asih, PhD, also known as Mbak Alin, the Vice Dean for Education, Research, and Student Affairs in the Faculty of Psychology here in Universitas Indonesia. Mbak Alin, if you may, the floor is now all yours.
Okay. Thank you, Nadine, for the introduction. Hopefully my voice is clear.
Yes, Mbak.
Yeah. Okay, so good morning to Dr. Daniel Alfingers and friends from Sweden. Good afternoon, Dr. Chutrifa Muttiya, Dr. Lucia Royanto, and friends from Indonesia. And good day to friends from other parts of the world. So it is with a great honor that the Faculty of Psychology Universitas Indonesia is able to host an umbrella of symposiums titled The Psychology from the East and Psychology from the West. The aim of the symposium series is to bring together experts from different parts of the world to discuss issues faced by all of us, the global community. The symposium is expected to become a forum held regularly to discuss about perspective, concerns, issues, and research findings on topics relevant to psychological field. The unique features of the symposium is that there is a conversation, a discussion between researchers from Indonesia or other eastern part of the world with researchers from the West. Thus, better mutual understanding can be developed, followed by the growing interest in different ways of collaboration to build knowledge. And the theme of the second symposium is education and the internet, challenges faced by the higher education in renewing curriculum and managing students, experiences from Indonesia and Sweden. This is an important and relevant theme for all of us, whether in the eastern part of the world or in the western part of the world. And I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to Dr. Daniel Alfinger, the Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences of Linnaeus University, Sweden, who is very kind to be with us today. As international speaker, to share the policy of higher education in Sweden, as well as to Dr. Chutrifa Muttiya Umar Ali, the Dean of the Faculty of Psychology, Universitas Indonesia, and Dr. Lucia Royanto, who will also share with us issues in regard to the internet and the challenges of the higher education in Indonesia. I am also pleased to having all of the participants of the symposiums. We will conduct the symposium regularly, and the third symposium will be held in early August, titled Religion, Spirituality, and the Contribution of Psychology in Realizing Human Virtues. This is also a very important and relevant topic, including in Indonesia. We receive reports that most of the participants of this second symposiums are postgraduate students or have already graduated from the program. Thank you very much for your participation. Little bit about Faculty of Psychology. So the Faculty of Psychology Universitas Indonesia has 13 different research groups and lab with experts who can supervise dissertation research, as well as to collaborate for publication. I hope that one of the research group or the lab can be in accordance with the academic field of interest that you would like to have expertise of in the future. And we will be happy if you can join the doctoral study program at Faculty of Psychology Universitas Indonesia. Also, I would like to inform that currently we are working to develop and strengthen cooperation with international partners. One that is already established for doctoral program is a collaboration with the Faculty of Psychology and Neuroscience, Maastricht University, Netherlands. We hope we will be able to inform you about other collaboration in the near future. And finally, I wish you a happy and fruitful discussion in this second symposium. Thank you, stay healthy and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mbak Alin, for the very wonderful words to mark the opening of today's event. Next, I will be introducing you all to our moderator for today. Uri Prasetyawati, also known as Mbak Uri, is a lecturer at the Faculty of Psychology here at Universitas Indonesia. She is also a member of a research group named Learning, Education, and the School Wellbeing. She recently finished her PhD from the School of Psychology, the University of Queensland in Australia. Her research is about the subjective well-being among Indonesian students transitioning to university, a longitudinal study of the influence of academic self-concept. Now, without further ado, I will be handing over the reins to Mbak Wuri. Mbak Wuri, if you may, the floor is now all yours.
Thank you very much, Nadine. Hello and welcome for all participants. Thank you for joining us in the second symposium, Psychology from the East, Psychology from the West. My name is Wuri, and it has been an honor for me to be the moderator for this session. This session will be divided into two parts. In the first part, the speaker will present their perspective and research for about 20 to 25 minutes each. And after the presentation, we will have the Q&A sessions. However, I would like you to write down your question in the chat function right away during or after each presentation to prevent you from forgetting the questions. You also suggested to mute the audio and video during the presentation session. Today's session topic is education and the internet, challenges faced by the higher education in renewing curriculum and managing students' experiences of Indonesia and Sweden. This is a big issue in the past couple of years with the pandemic situation all around the world. And now we are very lucky to have three distinguished speakers who are experts in this field. Before we start the presentation, please allow me to read the first speaker curriculum vitae. Our first speaker is Dr. Lucia R.M. Royanto, or we usually call her Mbak Lucy. Mbak Lucy is a lecturer at the Faculty of Psychology, Universitas Indonesia, interested in educational psychology, especially cognition, metacognition, and literacy. Mbak Lucy completed her study as a psychologist and her master's degree in educational psychology at Universitas Indonesia. She took her Master of Special Education from the University of Newcastle, Australia. She finished her doctoral degree at Universitas Indonesia in 2007. Her current field of research is in metacognition, especially in reading and mathematics. She carried out many research and activities with the community on literacy, especially for elementary school children. And currently, she is the head of the undergraduate program at the Faculty of Psychology, Universitas Indonesia. She is facing a change of university curriculum that is full of challenges and hope. Today, she will present her research entitled Kampus Merdeka, Challenges Faced by Universitas Indonesia in Renewing Curriculum and Managing Students. Mbak Lucy, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Wuri. Please let me share my PowerPoint here. Okay, yeah. Good afternoon, all. It is nice to see you all here. It is an honor to present with Dr. Chutrifa Muttiya and Dr. Alfinger. I'm Lucy Royanto. I'm now as the head of undergraduate program at Faculty of Psychology, Universitas Indonesia. I would like to present the challenges Universitas Indonesia faces because of the changing of higher education curriculum nationally. As we all understand and realize that at the end of 2019, we already heard the rumor that there will be a very big changing of curriculum in the near future. And at the beginning of 2020, the Ministry of Education put forward the idea of Curriculum Merdeka or Freedom Curriculum. And the minister pointed out that this curriculum should be carried out as soon as possible. As the Minister Nadiem Makarim said, giving freedom and autonomy to educational institutions and freedom from bureaucracy gives lecturers and students to be free to choose their own path they really want to master, they really want to pursue. This is, of course, a very big opportunity to the students to be more independent and to chase their dreams. While for the students, it is a big opportunity, for the university, it is a big challenge. Because all of us must change our paradigm in education and also in the administration of education, which is not easy to all of us. Why change is important for all of us? As we all know, we are living in a changing society, a very fast changing society, in which the demand of the workforce is pretty high because of the development of internet, information system, the changing of economy, the economic growth, and the changing of the workplace. We are all still uncertain over which skill will become redundant in the future. Why? Because of the advancement of artificial intelligence and also automation, workers must be more adaptable. They must be fast learner, they must learn new skills, new techniques, and maybe new professions as well. To answer all those things, a new approach in learning, especially in higher education, is needed. A curriculum that can equip students with more skills for adaptation. The skills are here: collaboration, communication, creativity, and critical thinking. Smartness is not enough for people in the future. They must be good in collaboration so they can work together to tackle problems. They should have good communication skills, especially communication through internet, and also literate in new technology, so they can communicate with people globally. They also have to develop their creativity and critical thinking, and those skills can be developed if outcome-based education is applied. Outcome-based education is the foundation of Kurikulum Merdeka or freedom curriculum. To understand outcome-based education, we must change our paradigm from teacher-centered to student-centered. In this case, learning is focused on the interests of students and must consider the needs of the students. As Paddy, a sociologist who innovated outcome-based education, said, an outcome-based education curriculum means starting with a clear picture of what is important for students to be able to do, then organizing the curriculum, instruction, and assessment to make sure that this learning ultimately happens. So, if we want to prepare the students with skills important for their work in the future, we must understand what skills needed for the future work. And then the learning is designed to give the students opportunities to sharpen those skills. So not only knowledge, but also particular skills and behavior. All aspects of the educational system are integrated with its learning outcomes. From the perspective of the students, education becomes more democratic and innovative. If we look at this picture, the design of Kurikulum Merdeka is like this. The curriculum is designed and planned based on students and industrial needs. For example, if industry needs workers, which is good in computers or in creativity, then the curriculum is designed to develop computer literacy or ability and also to develop creativity. In the process of learning, the teachers guide the students with activities that develop those skills. And also the assessment is designed to check whether the students master computer literacy and creativity or not. In Kurikulum Merdeka, the students can choose the subjects and the activities they want to pursue in the last 3 semesters. They have the freedom to learn whatever they want, as long as it is in line with the learning outcome of the graduates. This, according to Minister Nadiem Makarim, makes the students happier and they can have psychological well-being. Before, all the students must take compulsory subjects and they can only choose 8% elective subjects. With Kurikulum Merdeka, the students have 36% elective subjects. Therefore, they can choose subjects or activities that they really like or activities beneficial for their future. So, learning for students now is a curiosity-driven, self-directed personal enterprise, a natural process that prevents quality crisis. Why? because the subject the students choose are the subjects they really want to know, not compulsory, it is not forced, it is by choice. If we look at the history of outcome-based education, it is being widely used by leading institutions across the world, such as Australia, United States, Canada, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Ireland, Korea, UK, China, and many, many more. And it has been applied since 1990s until now. Why this approach is quite popular? Because it formally and informally adopted actual workplace skills in the curriculum, such as life skills, intellectual skills, interpersonal skills, and also professional skills. And the outcome-based education system has proven to be a success in helping institutions to measure their learning outcomes and at the same time enabling students to develop new skills that prepare the students to stand out with their counterpart around the world. How we, Universitas Indonesia, prepare for these changes? Frankly speaking, the implementation of outcome-based education has been carried out this past 3 years. UI is quite ready because before this, Universitas Indonesia had implemented competence-based education for years, which has led to outcome-based education. Universitas Indonesia also has a training center for lecturers to sharpen their skills on teaching and also its preparation. All the lecturers have been trained to design learning using active learning and outcome-based education. Universitas Indonesia have some trainings modules that systematically enrich lecturers' knowledge and skills. All the movements and developments of Kampus Merdeka are observed and discussed by education experts at Universitas Indonesia. Young lecturers, like you can see in the slide, are taking workshops on teaching and learning, and senior lecturers are taking enrichment programs for teaching. Anyway, Kurikulum Merdeka demands lecturers to change. Learning can be carried out in the classroom and outside the classroom. The lecturers must give guidance, must equip the students with knowledge and skills. Therefore, when the time to choose comes, the students are ready to choose. After the students finish their 5 semesters, they are able to choose activities or elective subjects in accordance with their interest. For example, if they want to be a content creator, they can take some subjects or at other universities such as ITB or IC that contains of arts or creative subjects, or they can take internship programs in some creative companies for 1 semester and develop a small creative content creator company the next semester. A student that really wants to become a school psychologist, for example, she can take several subjects that has relationship with education and clinical psychology. And she can also do an internship in psychology consulting bureau that help and counsel students. Or a student who wants to be a teacher can join teaching activities in their internship program. Kurikulum Merdeka allows students to experience real-life experiences. It is tailor-made. It is a unique experience. And as long as students can choose whatever they want as long as it is in line with the learning outcomes of the graduates. However, this also invites threats because all those years, the students are used to follow whatever in front of them. And the students' mindset should be changed. The lecturer's mindset should be changed. This is not easy because not all students have self-regulation. Not all lecturers can see opportunities for their students. It is time to learn to be self-regulated. Now we can check, what have we done? We already designed the curriculum that hopefully can equip the students with solid basic knowledge of psychology. And now we need to prepare the infrastructure. For example, the administration procedure, the mentoring process, so we can serve students as good as possible. We also need to equip the lecturers with mentoring methods, how to assist students who are confused in choosing the subjects or the type of internship. However, UI provides a Center for Independent Learning, or CIL, to become a forum that gives information about an internship activities that accommodate students' needs for internship activities. So every student who wants some information about what they should do, they can just log in here, Center for Independent Learning, and check there what kind of activities or subjects offered there. From the student side, what should they do? Firstly, they must become self-regulated learners that can plan and set goals, use strategies and monitor performance, and they also can reflect and adapt. They must also have to decide their own future, their own career, and this is not easy. According to some research carried out these recent years, the students are not self-regulated yet. They still need lecturers' help. And these are some research on regulation, self-regulated learning, and career decisions on students. So the growth mindset and instructor scaffolding significantly related to student self-regulated learning, with instructor scaffolding being a stronger determinant than students' growth mindset. That means the lecturer's help is important for students to become self-regulated learners. The question is, how do the students with Kurikulum Merdeka become independent, knowing that Kurikulum Merdeka demands students' independency? Digital literacy and task value positively contribute to the students' capacity of self-regulated learning. When the students master the internet, computers, or other electronic devices and understand the value of being engaged in their studies, they will be able to regulate themselves. The question is, how about disadvantaged students who come from remote areas, who have difficulties in internet connection, or for students who do not have full engagement in their study? Other research also show higher education environment, especially the role of the lecturers, must be optimized to increase students' self-directed learning. However, self-directed learning came from students' self-regulation. Students who have self-directed learning will improve their career decision self-efficacy. The role of the lecturers, in this case, is important in developing self-directed learning. Students who have self-directed learning tend to have good career decision-making. And the question is how to develop career decision self-efficacy for students since the beginning. Research also shows emotional intelligence influences students' career decision self-efficacy, especially emotion toward performance, emotion toward oneself, and emotion regulation. The question is how to develop emotional intelligence in higher education. Family functioning also has a direct or indirect role in the career adaptability of final year students through vocational identity. So in order to have a good career adaptability, it is important for students to have vocational identity. To have a mature vocational identity, students still need support from their environment, especially from families who provide direction, supervision, and opportunities for discussion. So it can be concluded that families still become an influential agent even though the students are already in their final year of university. And also, individuals who carried out career exploration will have career adaptability, and those who are able to face career challenges will be more confident in their career decision. Associated with the implementation of Kurikulum Merdeka, it is necessary for the students to carry out career exploration. The question is, what kind of support do the students need so they can do a better career exploration? So, in the implementation of Kurikulum Merdeka, it is still an open opportunity for all of us to conduct research related to psychological aspect of students as well as the role of lecturers and parents in directing students in Kurikulum Merdeka. We can also do some studies in differences of the students' way of thinking, especially in their thinking flexibility, planful learning, career decision making, and many more. Studies in the process of learning and strategies used in the classroom. Also, students' involvement in the classroom activities are also interesting to be researched. Now, how to help the students? With all of the changes, most of the students are in difficult situation. We understand this, especially the new students. They already have big hope to study at the Universitas Indonesia, but with this pandemic, they still can't go out of their homes. And they still can't see Universitas Indonesia with its lakes and green campus. So coupled with the pandemic, the students become more stressed. Universitas Indonesia, especially Faculty of Psychology, provide new students with buddies. Therefore, if they need help, they can ask other older students. They can share their difficulties in learning and studying and adapting to new situation. And also they can curhat or outpouring their feelings and emotions. The faculty also empowers students advisors to help students with difficulties. All these efforts are being carried out by the faculty, and so far it helps new students to adapt with new situation. So that is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. I return the floor to Uri. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mbak Dulci, for sharing this with us. We couldn't agree more that curriculum Merdeka Belajar has given us challenge, not only for students, but also for the lecturers. The main point that I note down here is understanding the appropriate skill is needed for the curriculum Merdeka, and it is not only prepared by the lecturer, the management, but also the students. Okay. So for all the participants, I also remind you once again that please write down your question in the chat function right away. We still have 2 more speakers with very interesting topic. I'm afraid that if you don't write down your question immediately, you will forget. Okay, now we will listen to the second presenter. Our second presenter, let me introduce Dr. Chutrifa Muttiya, or we usually call her Muttiya, is a psychologist who has completed her doctoral degree from Faculty of Psychology, Universitas Indonesia. She earned the full lectureship position in 1987. She has been appointed as an adjunct professor at School of Psychology, the University of Queensland, Australia. She has done several significant research and works related to teaching learning in higher education and first-year students. Muttiya is currently a member of several established organizations such as the Indonesian Psychological Association, the Indonesian Educational Psychology Association, and the Indonesian School Psychology Association. She was the president of the Association of Indonesian Higher Education Institutions in Psychology, or AP2TPI. She also was the president of Asian Psychological Association, or APSIA. Since 2013 until now, she is the dean of the Faculty of Psychology, Universitas Indonesia. And today she will present about the role of adjustment as a mediator in the relations of social support and psychological well-being of new students in class of 2020 in the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, I would like to give the stage to Muttiya.
Thank you very much for a very nice introductory, Wuri. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy here to have you all here. And it is very honor for me to have this time together with Dr. Daniel Alfinger and also Ibu Lucia Royanto. My research today, which will be present, is about, I think I really need to share the screen. Can Uri help me with that?
Yes,
Uri?
sure, yeah.
I just do it?
Yeah.
I'm going to share the research that I did with our master student, Lia Rosalina. The title is about the role of self-adjustment as a mediator in the relation of social support and psychological well-being of new students in the class of 2020 in the COVID-19 pandemic period. Yep. Can you move on, please, Ibu Udi? Next slide, please. Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry. We are doing the research because there is suddenly a pandemic situation, and we all have to move from the traditional teaching learning process to go to distance learning. All level of education should be doing that, and I believe it's not really easy. We believe it's not really easy, especially for the new students, the first year students. They haven't got any experience how to study in the college. So that's why we are going to do a research. We were going to do the research about what is the impact actually of the distance learning to psychological well-being. Next slide, please. Would or okay.
Already did
This
it,
is
Mbak.
our research background. Okay, I just see. I'm sorry. The first year problem. Students who just start their college experience usually have the things that they really need to adjust. They really need to adjust with the situations of new station of the college situation. And this is not really easy, especially when they were never or they haven't got a chance to be in the college situation or university situation. They haven't been there yet. And also, there is a lecture also that we read that the level of psychological well-being tend to be low for the first year students. That's why we really need to take care of the students of the freshmen. We really need to take care of them. We're usually giving them the orientation. But right now, it's kind of very difficult because in a sudden, we couldn't do that. In their age, this is the time or the period for them to build the relations. They meet a lot of the new friends. And this is the things that they cannot do it because of the pandemic situation. They couldn't do the orientation. They couldn't meet their new friends. Yeah. And also, lack of closeness with friends usually happen in the first year students. And there are lots of academic demands, and this is a very stressful situation. After all, or because if they couldn't get a chance to learn to have the kind of orientation, how to study at the college level, it's going to be very difficult and stressful. And also, they really need the social support. With the pandemic situation, it's not very easy for them to have the social support. Friends, they don't know yet about the organization who can also help them in telling them or support them when they have the problems. Next, please. Next, please. Can we move to the next slide, please? Okay, sorry. So this is what we are doing. The variables of this research is the definition of psychological well-being is activities of the soul that are in accord with virtue, means striving to achieve the best that is within us. And the components of the psychological well-being in this research is self-acceptance, autonomy, personal growth, positive relation with others, environmental mastery, and purpose in life. Next, please. For the social support, we took the definition from McGrath. The definition is social support is an individual's perception of supportive behaviors from others in their social network that will ultimately be beneficial to that individual. The component of the social support is the availability of support, needed support, how helpful the supports are, and what kind or how big or they receive the support. The factors in this research is the gender and also the family conditions. Next, please. Student adjustment. The definition we took about the student adjustment is the dynamic process that can ultimately lead to achievement of appropriate fit between the person and the environment. What we mean by the environment is the college environment, the academic environment, and the components of it is leadership, communion, persistence, task involvement, teacher rapport, academic confidence, social confidence, locus of control, incremental skill, and peer rapport. And the components and the measurement of this we took is actually from Prasetyawati, our moderator today. Yes, please. This is the factors affecting adjustment. There is a self-esteem, personality, social support, stress, friendship, self-efficacy, and social anxiety. These are the factors that affect the student's adjustment. Next, please. As we know, the students and the first year students, the freshmen, usually, the age of them usually between 17 or 18, yeah. And we call them in the period of emerging adulthood. They have some physical characteristics like physical appearance and also high level of energy at that time, and have like a different lifestyle and sexually mature at that time. And we also can see that they have also the characteristics of cognitive logic, focus on future, idealists looking for their goal. And for the social emotional characteristic, we can see them, the identity exploration. They are looking or searching for identity. Yeah. They're kind of confused sometimes whether identity and versus identity confusion is happening in this age. And also intimacy versus isolation. So next, please. This is the dynamics between variables. The freshmen, we took like a 22 cohort, 2020, and there is the online, suddenly they have to do the distance learning, and also there is social support that they really need. And so also we really need to see whether all of these variables will affect their adjustment and then goes to the psychological well-being. Next, please. Yes, the independent variable for this is social support, the dependent variable psychological well-being, and we suggest the mediate variable in this research is self-adjustment. Next, please. The measurement, the dependent variable, we took psychological well-being scale and college student social support scales for the taking and looking for the independent variable. And then for the mediator variable, we took the measurement, the students' attitudes and perception survey, SEPS, from Woody Prasetyawati. And the design of this research is correlational, quantitative, non-experimental, convenient sampling with online Google form, self-report, and the participant characteristics undergraduate students from cohort of 2020. For the analysis, we use descriptive statistics, Pearson correlation, regression, IBM, SPSS statistics 25. Next, please. Now, we collect like 669 participants, but we can only have 6 of 5 that we can do for the further studies, because they're not complete to fill the inventory, and also some of them from the vocational program instead of undergraduate program for the sarjana undergraduate program. 64.6% is 18 years old students, 76.5% is female, and 85.1% is undergraduate students from regular class. 49.3% is from UE. 93.4% is stay with their parents. 84.3% study program at university are their own choice, which is a very good. 61.9% from the participants study at their first choice university. 61.7% of students study at their first choice of study program, and 80.3% unfortunately has a medium rate of attachment with their university or campus. Next, please. In the participants, the reason of study, mostly they study for future career and has own passion in the study program. That's a 38.70%. The rest is only little, but we can see there is some political organization reasons, socialization reasons, fulfilling parents' needs reasons, and others. They spend time, usually most of them, 4 to 8 hours per day. And 36.5% of the participants spend like 8 to 12 hours a day. For the sleep quality, we can see it is kind of very, very low. 53.7% low and 12.7% very, very low. 71.9% moderate level of stress, and we can see 70.9% trying to solve their own problem by themselves. Next, please. In terms of psychological being, we can see mostly they are in medium category. That's a part by psychological well-being, but we still find students coming from the low psychological well-being that we really need to take care of this, of course. For the social support, 68% of the participants in a medium level. And for self-adjustment, we can see 68.10% of participants have the medium category of self-adjustment. Social support received more from parents than from peer or friends. Next, please. The results. This is the qualitative research, actually. The benefits from distance learning, they said that they have the well-documented material. It can be flexible for them, time and cost efficiency. This is from their point of view. For the obstacle in distance learning, they said concentration sometimes drops, difficult to discuss or interact to each other, and they have the subsidy actually from the Kementerian Pendidikan dan Kebudayaan for internet quota. 64.8% not yet received by that time. It was last year. And internet fee range, they said per month they spend like 50,000 to 100,000 rupiah. For the question, well, which one they're gonna prefer, distance learning or face-to-face learning? 5.5% say distance learning is better. 50.9% choose face-to-face learning is better. 43.6%, which is quite high, undecided. Next, please. This is the correlation test and regression test between variable. And as we can see here, self-adjustment can be suggested as the mediator variable between independent, which is social support, the variable, to psychological well-being. Next, please. This is full mediation. That's the conclusion. Social support doesn't have a significant effect on psychological well-being of new students in the class of 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic period. That's the first conclusion. The second one, social support has a significant effect on self-adjustment of new students in the class of 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic period. Conclusion number 3, self-adjustment has a significant effect on psychological well-being of new students in the class of 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic period. And number 4 conclusions, self-adjustment significantly mediated the relationship between social support and psychological well-being of new students in the class of 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic period, which is full mediation. Next, please. The discussion. As we can see, we found here in the research medium rate in sense of institution attachment, this is not good. They already be in the university, mostly of them, in the university and in the study program, which was their first choice, but their sense of institution achieve attachment is only in the medium rate. There is something that we need to do for this. Majority driven from most of students coming to college is by internal motivation. And other thing is they feel they have excessive assignments. Their sleep quality and stress can be found. They prefer still face-to-face learning methods. So we can see the social support can help the students, but mostly at this time, they have social support more from parents, which is not usual for the age of them. Usually their peers have more social support from peers or friends, but not in this case. Yeah. And this peer support and self-worth, helping them to adjust with their environment. And this goes also making them to have the positive relations with others. And with the success of educational motivation, good peer rapport, positive relation with others, we do hope that they will have a good mental health. But we can see in this research, most of them have in a medium rate of social support and also in the psychological well-being. Next, please. There is some suggestion that I would like to give after we finish with this research. Self-adjustment is an important aspect for students to be able to carry out lectures well, so that new students during this pandemic have a good psychological well-being. They must make efforts to be able to adapt to their campus environment, although learning will still be carried out with the online system. To form a good adjustment, it can be done by increasing task involvement, peer rapport, and community. They need to be more involved in the organization, extracurricular activities. To increase task involvement or focus on assignments, students need to put class schedule in a place that is easily visible and create good routines, including sleeping, study time, yeah, and other activities, so that they can concentrate during the learning process. Peer rapport or relationship with college friends and communion or the need for relationship can be improved by keeping in touch with college friends. For example, by communicating with friends outside of college, assignments through video calls. Students also need to prepare good time management or time management. And students need to learn to set limits for themselves and dare to say no assertively, to refuse things that are less related to lectures or even interfere. Students need to make priority agenda for self-care, such as getting enough sleep, eating healthy foods, exercising regularly, meditation, relaxation, setting realistic goals, and making plans to implement them. When associated with the basic core of educational outcomes in the Ministry of Education and Culture, there are skills that need to be mastered by students in Indonesia. Previously, students were required to be able to improve their knowledge, skills, and professionals' aptitudes. So currently, there are two additional abilities, namely life values and spirituality. By exploring the perspective and understanding of new students about the importance of psychological well-being itself, it can be useful as a basis for providing programs to instill life values in students. For example, programs to teach the importance of self-care, as well as other programs that teach self-empowerment for students. These programs are expected to help students to better adapt to their campus environment. Adjustment is an important factor, but with social support, it will be more meaningful as a motivating factor for students to make efforts to adapt. The campus can provide support in the form of providing orientation program for new students, especially in dealing with situations that require adjustment to face distance learning. In this campus introduction program, it should not only target students' introduction to campuses, faculties, or learning in higher education, but also need to target affective aspects. New students need to be equipped with survival kits to deal with lectures, for example, stress management, time management, how to build healthy relationships, and problem-solving steps. By being equipped with these things, it is hoped that it can inspire new students to make efforts to adapt to the new environment or challenges to face. One form of social support that can be provided by the campus is through the role of lecturers, namely by providing interactive and communicative learning. For this reason, the campus can provide lectures with interactive teaching skills according to the needs of learning methods during this distance learning period. By knowing the level of psychological well-being of new students of the class of 2020, the data can be used as evaluation material to measure how the experience of new students of the class of 2020 is with educational programs. In addition, interventions and preventive measures can be more easily carried out if the university has data on new students from the class of 2020 who have the potential to lead to poor psychological well-being. One way to maintain the psychological well-being of students
sorry, excuse me,
is to
Muttiya.
provide a moderate level.
Your time is only 5 minutes left.
Oh, okay.
Your time is
I
only
think I
5
can
minutes.
get this done. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Sure. One way to maintain the psychological well-being of students is to provide a moderate level of workload. In the study, it was found that 52.1% of the class of 2020 students felt that the workload was excessive. This can be addressed by the university to readjust the task load and time limit for the work given to students. With the appropriate workload, students are expected to have sufficient time to manage themselves and manage their assignment better, which is an important aspect of psychological well-being. Rest is a basic human need, and adequate rest is an important factor for maintaining a healthy lifestyle. One of the problems experienced by class 2020 students during the COVID-19 pandemic is stress and lack of quality sleep. This problem can be overcome by students learning breathing techniques as a way to calm down sometime before the break. Students can use assistance in learning breathing technique and listening to relaxation music through YouTube. To provide intervention to students who have low level of psychological well-being, the campus can provide education to students through available and accessible information media during this pandemic. For example, through the website or social media owned by the faculty, as well as communication media owned by the Student Executive Board. The information shared is an invitation to students to be aware of their own condition when it's time to need help. If there are psychological complaints such as anxiety, fear, emotions, negative thoughts, or other psychosomatic symptoms caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, you can contact professional services. For example, the free service from HIMSI, the Psychological Association. Parents are the party who has the authority in online learning situations that take place at home. Parents can provide support to students in their learning process by providing a conducive situation for learning, choosing a variety of healthy foods to consume, and providing encouragement for students to undergo lectures. With more limited friendship interaction in this pandemic situation, it is hoped that parents can take the time to accompany students when they need friends to share with. I think I conclude my presentation. Thank you very much, Muttiya.
Thank you, Muttiya. So I stop sharing now. Sorry. Thank you, Muttiya, for the presentation. It's very interesting to hear the result of your presentation. Unfortunately, the time is quite limited. So I remind for the participant once again, please write down your question, especially to Muttiya presentation in the chat function. You can also write down in Bahasa Indonesia and we will try to translate it for you later. Now, our last but not least presenter will talk about education from different perspective. So we can go virtually to Sweden now. We are happy to have Dr. Daniel Alfinger. Dr. Daniel Alfinger is an associate professor at the Department of Education and Teacher Practice at Linnaeus University, Sweden. He currently holds the Dean position for the Faculty of Social Sciences and teaches in the upper secondary and vocational teacher education. Dr. Alfinger is also involved in projects funded by the National Agency for Education and show patients through various research projects. He is a member of the research group called SITE, which stands for Studies in Curriculum, Teaching, and Evaluation. and has led several research projects in close cooperation with municipalities and schools. His interests mainly concern education policy and curriculum making as social practice, the knowledge base and organization of teacher education and teacher leadership and school development theory. Today, Dr. Alfinger will present his research entitled Education in the Era of Internet, Sharing Experiences from Sweden on Higher Education Policy. Dr. Alfinger, we are looking forward to your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wuri. So, dear audience and friends from far away, I would like to send my gratitude to the Faculty of Psychology at Universitas Indonesia for this very kind invitation and the possibility to come together in these difficult times and to speak about these very much emergent and important issues and find a mutual way forward. My philosophy in education is that sharing experiences is that possibility that we move forward by learning from each other from where we might be. We both have the similarities, I would say, a lot of things alike and a lot of differences. And I will also say it's both easy and a challenge to be the last speaker after these two very prominent and distinguished speeches with Dr. Royanto and Dr. Rifa Muttiya, in the sense that they have presented very much interesting perspective, both regarding the new curriculum Merdeka and also the questions concerning psychological well-being and social support for students in this time. So what I will share with you today will be three main parts. First, I will just give a brief presentation of Linnaeus University, which I was asked to do by the faculty. I will then move on to talk about, from a curriculum perspective and position myself in a sense, what I do, and then create a kind of frame for the higher education curriculum in Sweden, and with a special focus then on digital learning. And then I will go to experiences, a practical experience from the current situations and how we grapple with these issues as well as you do with your students. And I will also say that as being an historian, I find it fantastic to be invited to speak with Universitas Indonesia, having such an impressive history from the late 19th century. Please be with me. Linnaeus University, we have our motto is that we set knowledge in motion for a sustainable societal development. We are, as a university, rooted and a part of society, and we should make a difference in society. We are also a very new university. We became a university between a merger between two older universities in 2010. But we have two campuses, one by the coast and one in the inland, and we also have distance education, of course. Roughly about 44,000 students and 2,000 employees. So we have a city greater university by the ocean. That's where I usually stay mostly, in the inland with a campus with students living in the area. And of course, as I said, we are all over both Sweden and the world. This is where we are located. This is, as you can see, the map of Europe, and Sweden you find at the top. We have two black dots with Kalmar by the coast and Växjö in the inland. We collaborate with universities all over the world, but here I've highlighted in our UniWell, European Universities for Wellbeing, our partners at Semmelweis University, University of Cologne, University of Nantes, University of Florence, Leiden University, and University of Birmingham. Our vision until 2030 is that we have these innovative academic environments, and we find common ways of working to realize this vision to set knowledge in motion for sustainable development. And in order to do that, we have established what we call knowledge environments. There are 7 at the moment. The first one grapples with the questions of what happens when democracy is at risk, when the foundations of our democratic society are threatened. Education in change about lifelong learning, but also in preschool and school. Advanced materials in medicine and in biotechnology and in forest industry. Green sustainable development, of course, how can we create a sustainable society? Water is also the blue sustainable development, so to speak. Sustainable health and digital transformations. So now I move on to the main aspects I've been asked to speak about today, and that will be of course, internet education. Internet has been with us for quite some time now, but we have also seen that events in our immediate future has reshaped the way we think and how we use the internet and the possibilities with digital learning. So I will, as I said, give a brief frame for the curriculum and from my point of view. But first, very briefly, it could be interesting to know who I am. As has been said here, I'm the Dean for the Faculty of Social Sciences, and I have a background as an upper secondary teacher in Swedish and history. And what I work with is the issue of curriculum making as a social practice. And I'm very interested in, especially what you told about your new higher education curriculum on the Muttiya curriculum. And of freedom and autonomy, because that is very much into questions that me and my colleagues are interested in. But at the university, I teach within vocational teacher program, so I also found the discussion on vocational identity very interesting, and upper secondary teacher program. I'm also the associate editor of BERA, the British Educational Research Association journal, the Curriculum Journal. And as you can see here, I'm interested in how curriculum is enacted and in what ways it affects teachers, how it can be said to be a part of teacher-student interaction, how the curriculum is made. And in one of the recent publications, together with my colleagues Mark Priestley, Stavroula Filippo, and Tina Soini, and other partners and colleagues from all over Europe, we have written about curriculum making as a phenomena in Europe, to look how teachers and students and policymakers influence curriculum and work with curriculum in several ways. So the tricky thing about us has been said here. We live in a digital world. It's fantastic. We can sit here today. It's morning. It's a beautiful morning in Sweden, and it's afternoon in Indonesia. We are connected across borders, across oceans and continents. So it's a fantastic possibility for us. It brings us closer together, and it makes our ways of sharing experiences much easier. And we can see that in our local communities, we are sharing global issues and the same global problems and challenges, but then of course also the possibilities. The future. The tricky thing about the future is that we really don't know what it would look like. We could anticipate that. I know, for instance, in Sweden, I would say for a week ago, there will be an election next year. But suddenly it turns out there's a government crisis and there might be an election in just a few months. So the thing when we want to prepare students for the future is that we are to prepare them for a future that we really don't quite know how it will be. That's a challenge, so to speak. And of course, when we, as you talk about your curriculum, we have a lot of hope in education. That education is the pathway, education is the solution at sometimes to managing the future. I believe, and that's also been said here, that education, we should engage in the big issues of education. What is education for? And at all times, since the future is unpredictable, we cannot always foresee or anticipate or even write into our curriculum how it will be, because we act from our conceptions, or our interpretations of the past, And we live in the contemporary times where we interpret the past, and we also have these different expectations for the future. And so I think it's very interesting when we talk about, for instance, critical thinking, collaboration, and communication as these foundational 21st century skills on the one hand, and other aspects concerning the academic disciplines and the subject knowledge that is necessary. And just briefly, in research with colleagues and I think it's very interesting to put in context the MEDECA curriculum and to see these different global and interrelated themes in curriculum policy change. For instance, the question of how much should a government or a government body regulate what is concerned to be education policy. From what I understand, the curriculum MEDECA, it's about autonomy and freedom. So it could be said to be a kind of deregulation in that sense. But at the same time, it's an outcomes-based education with learning outcomes. And those learning outcomes, I guess, are formed and written by a ministry or another government body. So of course, there are these different factors that wants to regulate or govern education. I also noticed that there's a focus on this 21st century skills, which is a competence-based curriculum mostly. We have this different tension field between competence-based and subject discipline-based curriculum. In the compulsory school and in the upper secondary school in Sweden, we had a competence-based curriculum since 1994 that shifted in 2011, where we got a more subject discipline-based curriculum. Of course, it includes skills and competences as parts of the curriculum, but it has changed. And mostly what you say, it has become a standards-based curriculum through learning outcomes, assessment criteria, and different guidelines and instructions for teachers from 2011. And that is also interesting in context of the reform you are describing. We all see this different aspects or mechanisms or structures that in times wants to enhance accountability and also the control of outcomes and results. So curriculum making, I see this as a very dynamic and transactional process where teachers or other stakeholders in the world of education, politicians and in municipalities and ministries, they interpret, they mediate, negotiate, and translate different. So we could talk about different levels or layers of education. So what we are talking about with my colleagues is that curriculum making is that the curriculum is made in the classroom. It's actually, of course, there's a written curriculum that is enacted, but the students are also co-developers or co-authors of that curriculum when it happens in the practice, the social practice of the classroom. And that's what we are interested in to see what happens. And that I will get back to also regarding digital learning, because it, of course, that concerns how a curriculum is enacted or made in that sense. So it's not about creating the curriculum as a product. It's also a very powerful process of learning for those who are involved in this sense. So I will just show you, and I won't get deep in it, but this is the one of the latest publications, and it's also a framework for what I'm going to move into, that we see curriculum making as different layers. We have the supra layer in that sense, where we have the World Bank, different transnational corporations. We have the OECD as very powerful policy actors who discuss education. We also have different edtech companies now coming in, working on a global scale that shapes ideas and notions of education. We have the macro level, which is the national level, you could say, where policy is made from a national scale, the governments, different agencies for education, and the politicians. Of course, they listen to what happens on a global scale, and they take impression of that. Especially this competence-based curriculum is a very clear trend all over the world. You mentioned the Anglo-Saxon countries in your own country, and we can see that all over the 21st century skills curriculum, for instance. On the micro level, on the meso level, sorry, that is the municipal level, you could say, and that there you have different administrators, perhaps policy brokers or head of departments, expert teachers that are assigned to do overarching projects. They also interpret and negotiate that curriculum. On the micro level, we have the teachers, the school leaders, and also the students. Curriculum is discussed and enacted in schools. So teachers also interpret, and that's when we presented this challenge for the teacher. I think it's very interesting to move from a teacher-centered to a student-centered curriculum. What does that really mean for teachers and school leaders? And finally, the nano layer is the students. That what really happens, the student-teacher interaction in the classroom and the ideas and minds of the students. And it was fascinating, Muttiya, to listen to you about this, asking the students how they experience their studies, and specifically with the social and psychological well-being during COVID-19. The point with this model is to say that these things just don't trickle down in all these layers. We noticed in our research, and also concerning digital learning, that the supra layer can very much influence the meso layer, especially talking about edtech companies. And the micro layer could be very much influenced by the macro, depending on national context, depending on different actors and how they move across these layers and how different ideas and policy flows moves. So just moving to digital learning and the idea of the Swedish higher education curriculum. Of course, the Swedish higher education curriculum stresses a research-based, it's research-based and also close cooperation with society. And when I move on to digital learning and digital policies, it will become more evident, the example I'm giving here. But this is the far south of Sweden, where Linnaeus University comes from. And I give this example of digital learning and what we call cooperation nodes or hubs for teacher education, also professional development for teachers in the region. So it's a joint arena for our university and the municipalities and the schools to collaborate in this sense. We have our university cities, as you saw, but also we create these different nodes out in the urban and agrarian areas, the remote areas. So we create these different digital and physical learning environments for teachers, students, and teachers. Of course, we have agreements and commitments to pursue this professional development and school development. Also, other institutions are involved. For instance, teacher students, they write thesis, and they do it for local school development out in the agrarian areas. So they are at the school, they do their placement studies there. And if they live in the vicinity, they necessarily don't have to live at the university campus or nearby the university. They can study these hybrid courses, net-based hybrid courses in our programs, and also then do their placement studies in the nearby. So very important the points of departure concerning this living in the area of internet. I have taken this from Åsa Lindberg-Sand. It's a publication some years back, but she writes that the learning environment of a higher education institution is constituted by the context, the nearby area, and the resources deemed necessary and desirable for students and teachers to interact together and contribute to learning expressed in the higher education curriculum. And that means that there are several implications. We really need to establish this learning environment as an inclusive educational concept. We also need to pursue digital development of learning environment in our higher education institutions. We have to recognize the significance of both campus studies as well as flexible functionality. Speaking about these hybrid courses, we need to see that it's not either or. It could be both at the same time. So we should more focus on how do we want our learning environments to be. Of course, we need this technical and educational support for our teachers and students, so they easily can access the learning environments which are online, and teachers to be confident in using the technology. And we also have to take a collective united responsibility for the development. It should not only be teachers, it should also be staff all around our university in administration. So very briefly, our policy for digital learning is that we have our outset, and this is what curriculum making, what is education for? We have our pedagogical principles. What are our aims? And that is relevant research and proven experience. And we should also be very didactically conscious when we implement or enact our digital tools and platform. It shouldn't be that they shape our education. They should be our tools. They are mediums to achieve our goals and aims with education. But of course, we should have access to digital resources and support and even competence building, capacity building for our staff. In that sense, what I showed you about the cooperation nodes and our work with the surrounding society, we want to draw in stakeholders and other interest agents in our work. And also, of course, our goal should be to enhance the goal attainment of our students. When we use, like you do, a learning management system, it's called MyMoodle, Zoom, of course, and we also have a special site for recording lectures or other perhaps panels like this, which is called LNU Play. And of course, there are furthermore applications that could be used. But then I have to check my time, but I trust that I have some perhaps 10 minutes left or something. I hope so.
10 minutes left. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. On the 17th of March in 2020, last year that is, I was holding a board meeting and suddenly we knew that it would be a press conference from our Prime Minister. And suddenly my cell phone, bling, said, now we have to close. Now we have to do this totally on digital and distance education for all universities. That was the message. We had to leave that meeting and have a meeting immediately with the Vice Chancellor of the university and to find a way forward. And of course, this Corona situation, it had been going on for a while. We had heard rumors, but suddenly it was a fact. So what had to happen? Well, we really had to change our mindset. Not totally, I would say, but we had to find a new mindset and also transform our practice. We had this, what I would say, digital hotspots. There has always been these forerunners, those who really are passionate and committed to distance and digital learning. We had that already in place. But we knew also that there were these parts of our university with staff who were very dedicated teachers and accustomed to face-to-face learning, not used to distance or digital learning. So that was a challenge. And there, overnight, we had to shift this for staff and students, digital learning. But of course, our educations, they consist of practical and experimental. I noticed on the Universitas Indonesia that you have biomedicine and so on. They have to do experiments. So we also had to raise these quality issues. How could we, during the current situation, have a secure environment for our students for laboratory and practical exercises? We had to extend our days and had smaller groups. So we teachers had to work from very early in the morning up until late in the night in order to have small groups come and do their laboratory exercises. Examinations, of course, we could turn a lot of examinations onto digital, but not everyone, of course, because we have to identify, the students needed to ID themselves, and we have to know that they wrote these specific. So we are still working with that issue. Placement studies, how should we do that when schools were closing? Our teacher students or our nurse students, what should they do? What would happen when a social interaction between students and teacher students would decrease? And what would happen also when everything moved to home environments? A second question that came up was, okay, now we are in a crisis. We are implementing kind of a crisis pedagogy. We know that we have to return to a new normal. It will not be as like before. It will be something different. But we cannot work this crisis pedagogy only. We have to think that we should use these experiences for the good of all our students and our teachers. So, which processes need to be adapted for a post-pandemic reality, and which parts of physical teaching and meetings need to be resumed? So how can we learn? That was the main. How do we learn from this? So we have 3 different areas which we have focused on. This is not all, but this is a way of just putting together how digital learning and the COVID-19 situation, how we have worked with it. Of course, the study environment, the learning environment for our students, I mentioned. The social aspects, both for students, but also for colleagues in workplace culture, and our meeting and collaboration structures. How will they be organized? Because we still, with the Delta variant and so on, we will have to live with this for some time. We are an open, we have actually remained a quite open university in that sense that the students have had access to our common facilities like the university library, but we also have security officers patrolling, making sure that distance is held. But all education and examination has moved to the net, except for some practical. For instance, police education, which I'm responsible for as a dean, have a lot of practical, so it's very hard for them, but they have made adjustments. But we saw that the students with low achievements, they seem to be very disadvantaged when we turn to distance learning. And we thought that likely it is that they don't meet their peers as much, and they don't ask their teachers as much in the digital room. So we said that use breakout rooms more, apply quiz functions, and open office hours in Zoom, saying that as a teacher, I have an open office in Zoom. You can just pop in and ask a question regarding an assignment. Also, another fact was during Zoom, we had more than one teacher present who could be kind of a tutor or mentor for the students. And of course, as we use here, questions, Q&A. Recorded lectures, we know that flipped classroom, it was in sway long ago before that. But it becomes less tangible and interactive, of course, and we can't address the prior experiences and reflections from the students, and they can't ask questions, and the teacher cannot notice the students who follow and don't understand, and also not being able to interact. You give less examples as a teacher. So we used our strategies and seminars to follow up on recorded lectures, to talk about the different concepts, to make meaning of them, and ask the students to write down how they have understood the concept. We had a follow-up seminar, and then you could refer to that lecture. So also put very brief lectures so they don't become too long and overcrowded with content. All right. So as you know, it's hard to see non-verbal communication during seminars, and especially when you talk about very charged issues regarding ethical, moral questions, it becomes more flat, more trivial in that sense, and less creative. You also mentioned in your study here, the second panelist, about the home. We have made that it differs quite significantly, and it's beyond the control of the teacher as a problem. And it's very tricky. We have had moral discussions of Zoom ethics with our students, that you don't sit with you need to have a shirt. You need to not lie in bed or something. You have to be professional in that sense. So what we have to do with the feelings of loneliness and isolation, that especially the first year students, as you have looked into, we have created small student groups that have a social function as well, extracurricular activities and discussion to talk about this. Open office hours I mentioned. And of course we have student pastoral care and counseling and different mentoring programs that have worked quite efficiently. But it's been a very tough time for students. I mean, when you move to university, you are there to live. To study, of course, but also to live and to meet new friends and build a new future, a new college perhaps. We need to keep these recorded lectures as we have done before, but we also have to maintain the high presence on the physical lectures. So maybe we should use recorded lectures as a repetition in that sense. And as I always said, we use chats and discussion forums. We need to mix. It's not either or. We should mix. We should use these both tools. We could use summary lectures in the end of a course with opportunities for question and answer sessions and discussion forums. We also need to schedule supervision time more efficiently, not only when we have examinations. So we have to think about how we support and prepare students more for examinations. And so how could we use the recorded lectures to then move time for teacher-led activities and student-centered activities, of course, as deepening and more intense elements during the education. So, as I said, we have had smaller student groups, short introductions, more teacher-led times. So we see that it's possible to reorganize teaching for more efficiency and interaction. We also have developed new methods for examinations that has been time-saving for our teachers. So, but we still have this, as I said, a challenge with specific examinations of physical presence. We see also that interdisciplinary teaching and integration between theory and practice has been helped, and these interactive training models. So we will keep on moving forward with that. But of course, it's a balance to find the social aspect of workplace culture. And I will end with this, just a brief summary of when we talk about the workplace culture. Because we are each other's working environment, and this is a transition when we go back to the workplace, that we have to maintain and strengthen our social bonds, but we also have to be flexible for the work at home. We have to think about how we organize the workstations and our rooms. We have to resume, of course, social activities among staff. And we should have an explicit meeting structure with guidelines for both physical and digital presence. So we have noticed that some staff meetings, there are more attendance when they are digital and they are easy to access the staff. And some meetings need to be more physical because they are creative and we need to be in place physically. So I'll just stop there, and I would like to thank you for your attention. And if anyone is more interested of Linnaeus University or would like to contact me, I would take the chance to put some contact notes in the chat for you. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Alfinger, for the very insightful presentation. Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to the Q&A session. Just like before, please use the chat function to write down your question. And now I would like to read for the question in the chat box first. I'm sorry, but perhaps we will like overdo for 15 minutes because we perhaps have several more questions. And if the time is over for the question in the chat box, we unfortunately not doing the direct question session, but we will see later. Okay. For the first question from Ibu Sylvia Savitri, President University, to all panelists, please give examples of best practice related teaching social science in Faculty of Humanities, like teaching politics in online learning mode. So who will answer Ibu Sylvia's question first? But Lucy perhaps can answer first.
Okay. So from my experience, because psychology is also social science, we can apply several active learning methods, like we invite the students to involve in the process of discussion, or we can do like active lecturing with Socratic questions, and we can also do debating that they can learn how to understand other people's perspective and also to change their own perspective if needed. So various teaching methods can be applied in social sciences. But I understand that the difficulties of using online learning is how to involve all the students. So I think we should understand the technology. Maybe we can do small discussion in breakout rooms, and we can hop off from one group to another group, and we give like questions that can facilitate their own learning. So if we want to involve the students, we have to understand many teaching methods and apply those teaching methods, so the students won't be bored with the lecture. Maybe Dr. Alfinger can add, or Ibu Tia can add. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Lucia. Well, just briefly, of course, I agree. I think that it's very important to really, when you say that you want it to be student-centered, that the students are really put in the driver's seat in that sense, so they feel that they also, in order to take responsibility, you have to give responsibility. But of course, there will always be an asymmetric relationship because the teacher knows more. But I still think that if you have this very open pragmatism attitude and see as joint partners of a social learning process, I think there are many ways and paths that could lead to such an environment, but be open to students. Thank you.
Budi, can I add a little bit more?
Of course, Muttiya.
Budi. Okay. I think the two main issues in the teaching learning process is the learning engagement and also the learning experience. How are you going to help your students have a good learning experience, and learning engagement is very important. For example, if you're teaching politics, it is nice if you can take some people or some people from NGO, maybe from the politics session, maybe, yeah, who can share their experience in the classroom. This, if you relate the students with the current issues, I think it's more happier students to have the class. I think they will have more energy because there is an attachment between the current issues and then the concept that you learn from the class can be applied to what the speaker from outside telling you. I think if we can give the experience for the students to deal with the current issues, then the issues will be sounded for them. There will be not much very far gap between the concept and the real situation. Making them close will help the students to build their own knowledge and the concept, because they know how to apply the concept with the real situation. I think like that. Of course, I do believe, and I think I agree with what Daniel just told us, that the social interactions is the basis before the class starts. Once the students has the courage to talk in the classroom, and that is the potential of a good class or a good person that will be participate in the classroom. So make them feel comfortable with the classroom environment is the first things. After that, give them the learning experience, the real one, taking the real one to the classroom. I think that's it. Thank you very much. Ibu Sylvia Sapitri, thank you for the question. It's a very challenging question. Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to the next question to Ibu Lucia from Ibu Agnes Widyastuti. What is the biggest challenges to apply Kampus Merdeka in UI during pandemic situation, in addition of low level of student self-regulation? how the faculty or campus handle the challenge and provide the enabling environment to students. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wuri. So with the Campus Merdeka, we all face challenges, yeah, especially because they started the class in online learning and they don't see each other, yes, since the beginning. But firstly, we have to remind them that the responsibility of learning is theirs. So the responsibility of the lecturers are reminding them that yeah, you have to be self-regulated, especially in this difficult situation. But I also understand that they also find difficulties because they have to adapt with university life, which is very different with their high school life. And the lecturers can make like what Daniel said in his presentation about the mentoring program, and also give like small students groups. So the students can remind each other if they are not going with the pace of study. So what we do is we provide like students buddies for the new students, and the buddies can help the new students about to introduce about the college life, about the university life, about how to adapt with the courses and how to adapt with the assignments and also the tests in the university. So the buddy is like a mentor to them. Everybody has like 5 new students to gather, and they accompany them for like 4 to 5 months in the beginning. So we expect that if the new students can adapt in a good way, then they can do their assignments and do all their responsibilities better. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Another question goes also to Ibu Lucia due to the curriculum Merdeka. The first question, this is from Ibu Junita Talega. Do you think this curriculum can cope the needs of the students with special needs? And how to overcome the skill of collaboration and communication to the student with special needs?
Yeah, thank you very much, Ibu Yunita. I think it all depends on the university. Yeah, if the university is ready, yeah, to accept students with special needs, then the university will provide the services, because like the Universitas Indonesia has a center that helps students with special needs, yeah, to adapt with the university life. And I think if the university doesn't have a special needs center, maybe every faculty can give services to students with special needs. But firstly, the students with special needs should report to the faculty that they have special needs, because we as the administrator, we never know about our students except if they admit it to us. And from my experience, not in University of Indonesia, not in Universitas Indonesia, but from other university, the faculty give special attentions to those students, to the students with special needs, and they give services because out there, there is a service for students with special needs provided, and they can give like what do you call it? Translate the materials to Braille, or translate the materials to other mode of communication. So if the students report to the faculty, maybe the faculty can give help, give some help to those students. And I think also with the buddy system, the buddy can also help the students with special needs. So it all depends on the university. What do they provide for the students with special needs? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, because there are like more than 2 questions in the chat box and we are running out of our time, we decided not to do the direct question, unfortunately, today, and we think we will close the question until this last question in the chat box. And I would like also to ask for prolong the duration of the symposium for about 15 minutes. Is it okay for you all? Also for the presenters, Mbak Lucy, Mbak Tia, and Daniel, is it okay for us to prolong about 15 minutes? Thank you. The next question to Ibu Tia, Ibu Lucy, and Bapak Daniel, or Daniel. Thank you so much for the presentation, and thank you to Daniel who explained to us the lesson learned and reflection from your situation in Sweden. I am thinking about competition, which I think will be an already one among keywords to remember in higher education, even when it is not explicitly stated in the policy or curriculum. With the internet and so many changes in the economy, market, then competition is one key. So how to really balancing this competitive character with very quick or strategic attitude that we need to cultivate in the students, with other important characteristics such as care to others and care to oneself. Since one issue now is mental health issue of students, or maybe we need to frame competitive character altogether with collaboration. And how can education policy address this? Do we need umbrella values in having policy and its implementation? Thank you so much. Very long question. I hope you can remember.
I will keep it short, but it's a very it's a long and intelligent question. Thank you very much. I would say that we are human beings and we are social beings, and of course competition is one aspect. We could look at individualist values and collective values on one side, and of course here we find those issues of competitions. We could never escape that. That would be to deny a part of us as being human. But rather than escaping this question, we should also ask us, which indirectly is assumed in the question, that also competition as a driver regarding building social cohesion and our collective values. I mean, the education system is a selective instrument. We should never forget that. And we of course, we have students who don't pass the bar, who don't finish, unfortunately. That's a tricky question. But however, I don't think that we should. I think we should understand our nature as human beings, but we should not build this into a curriculum, or in that sense. I think from the parts of the world where I come from, we talk about Bildung, and Bildung is about self-formation. It's about character formation. And the teacher asks, in what ways can this content bring meaning to the individual and help him or she to find her true identity or self-formation as an individual. But I think this idea of having this idea, what kind of society do we want to have? Of course, we have competition, but should competition be at the cost of destroying cohesion and collegiality? No. So we have to be aware of that. There's an individualist aspect about competition and the economy market, but those are external factors, and they have a specific logic that I don't think that education would benefit from to import it. I think that the logic of education should be another one, and the logic of economy and market is separate from that. So I think we should be very careful of, and I don't think that you implied that with your question, but I think we should be aware of us as individuals, and we should strive for a society that is held together, and that there are different factors, of course, at the economy and the market that works independently of that, but it still affects. I hope that answers this intelligent question.
Thank you, Daniel. Muttiya or Mbak Lucy would like to add more about this?
I think I totally agree with what Daniel just told us. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we can go to the next question, also to all panelists. From Ismi Handayani, this pandemic situation required not only students but also teachers to be as creative as we can. Especially for teachers, what is your suggestion for them to enhance their creativity in the brief period as soon as possible? Thank you. Who will answer this question first?
May I?
Okay, thank you.
May I?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes. This situation we cannot hide from this situation, and even after the pandemic situation, I think we still are really doing the learning, distance learning. Yeah, that's why we really need to equip ourselves. Right now, actually, there are so many training on to be a very good, innovative teacher, a creative teacher. It's only us, whether we would like to have a more repertoire in teaching process or not. Yeah. So when we decide to be a teacher or lecturer, then we have the obligation actually to equip ourselves to the repertoire of teaching process. If we are not doing that, I don't think we can have a good mark from the students. We know that the students right now, they have the right to tell the head of study program that one of the teachers or two teachers, lecturers is not good. And there is the authority of the head of the study program, whether to use the teacher or the lecturer in teaching in their study program. So I think, of course, we really need to encourage the teacher to have the training. We tell them what kind of training, very good. Yeah. But if you want to learn yourself, there are so many that you can access yourself from YouTube or from other provider. Now, I think the like a rewarding, the reinforcement has to be done. So this is the authority of the head, because the quality of the learning process is the responsibility of the head of the study program. So we really need to, we support, but also we really need to have to evaluate, and then after that, the reinforcement or punishment, reward and punishment has to be done. I think like that, Ibu Muri. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Okay, Daniel, you can add more. Sure.
Free advice, very good, thank you, Dr. Muttiya. three advice I would give for teachers. The first one is to be brave. The second one, have the courage also to tell your students that this is new for you, that you might fail, that you are insecure and you are learning, and that you would like to see them as partners in your learning in this sense. And the third one, of course, don't be afraid if there's a failure. We can't do things wrong. We can only do them differently, sometimes at least. Thank you. Very good question.
Thank you. But Lucy, do you want to add some?
Yeah, maybe I just want to add the teacher should be more open. So openness is really important for teachers, especially in from my experience in remote areas. That is, they have no access to internet or no access to technology. They have to be open with what is provided from the surroundings. So if they understand what they have in their surroundings and also understand their students' characteristics, and they have the openness and also the willingness to learn from the surroundings, I'm pretty sure that she can be more creative. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mbak Lucy. Okay, due to our very short time, and Daniel will be leaving us for at the 4:10, I think. It's only 6 minutes left for us. One more question to Daniel. From our point of view, how to make online learning or distance learning can be efficient and impactful for both students and lecturer. Thank you.
Well, I think also very good questions here today. I think that the open attitude, as I told, to be very specific about different expectations is a first start. That you have to start as a teacher from where the student, you have to find the student where he or she is in her current context and with current needs. And I think also that on a more general level, when you have this open attitude, you should also see that we know from other studies of teaching that using a variety of repertoires and methods is the most impactful and efficient way of teaching. So we should use a variety, because students, such as we as teachers, we are different individuals and we have different needs. So that is why a varied teaching is helpful. And as was said here by my very distinguished colleagues, there are movies on the internet. There are different tools that you could use. But I always think that when you choose a certain method or a certain instrument or tool, you should always have an answer to the question: what is the aim? What is the idea that I want to, as a teacher, that the student should accomplish or the student should have before? So I don't let the tool itself govern. But I would say variation, to have the big picture in mind, in constant mind, be aware of student expectations, and also this open attitude towards that we can have. We are constantly learning. So thank you. Very good question.
Thank you very much, Daniel. For all participants, I'm really sorry that we cannot accommodate all the questions that we have. I saw at the box of chat we already still have like more than 2 questions here. But I believe that all the participants will have the direct contact to the all presenters today. So you can contact all the presenters, and all the presenters also will answer your questions. So I think today's session is already finished. Thank you very much for all the sharing, the discussion, and all the participation in this symposium. I would like to give the floor to Nadine, the MC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mauri. Okay, well, today has been a very eventful day filled with learning and sharing. Hopefully you all learned a lot. I certainly learned a lot as well about the importance of fulfilling our roles as parents, teachers, facilitators, and students, and to adopt an open-minded and risk-taking mindsets and trying out different approaches to achieve a more effective learning experience. Hopefully you all learned and find it as interesting as I did. Thank you again for the guest speakers who have so kindly given us some of their time to share their vast knowledge and interest regarding the topics brought forth today. And a big thank you as well to our moderator, Mauri, and the rest of the very wonderful staffs. Before we bring the event to an end, I would like to remind you all of the doctoral program that is offered here in Faculty of Psychology UI that has 13 research groups and entails a promising collaboration with Maastricht University. Hopefully, this can be an encouraging information for those of you who want to continue your doctoral studies at the Faculty of Psychology in UI. For more information, you can reach the contacts that are provided on the following slides. We would also like to announce that we are in the midst of preparing the third symposium with the topic Religion, Spirituality, and Psychology's Contribution to Realizing Human Virtues, and it is to be held on August 12, 2021. Well, I believe that is all we have for today. Don't forget to mark the calendar for the third symposium event so that we can meet again soon. We are all praying that the current conditions of the pandemic will soon get better and that those who are infected can quickly regain their health. Our best prayers are with you all. We hope that everyone will have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you and see you next time.
Dan mengabdi Tuhan dan mengabdi bangsa dan negara Indonesia. Alma materku setia berjasa, Universitas Indonesia. Kami warga Mekar bersatu. Kami amalkan tridharmamu dan mengabdi Tuhan dan mengabdi bangsa dan negara Indonesia. Universitas Indonesia, universitas kami, ibu kota negara, pusat ilmu budaya bangsa. Kami mahasiswa pengabdi cita, ngejar ilmu bekerti luhur untuk nusa dan bangsa. Semangat lincah gembira, sadar bertugas mulia, berbakti dalam karya mahasiswa Universitas Indonesia, pelambang cita berdasarkan